question 26. Don says, I'll have to work on that. Then I am guessing that the cross legs of the entity in card 4 have a meaning similar to the cross of the crux ansata. Is this correct? It's a beautiful observation. Ra says, this is correct. The cross formed by the living limbs of the image signifies that which is the nature of mind-body-spirit complexes in manifestation within your illusion. There is no experience which is not purchased by effort of some kind, no act of service to self or others which does not bear a price to the entity manifesting, commensurate with its purity. All things in manifestation may be seen in one way or another to be offering themselves in order that transformations may take place upon the level appropriate to the action. This paragraph is deeper than I can possibly do honor to, because we are speaking of the foundation of experience itself. And so we're talking about the recognition by Don, which is absolutely keen. I would never have guessed that by looking at an image and interpreting a crux ansata. Yet at the same time, I can speak from my inner knowledge that experience contains, obviously, and I mean experience of life contains always the fullness of reality. It's not something so deep, actually. In fact, it is so simple that the mind, by the nature of its own activity, shrouds it. Let me say that again. The fullness of the moment is overlooked by the mind by its own nature, because of its own nature, which is to superimpose layers of definitions on reality. Which, again, in this case, I refer to the mind as the thinking mind. But the fullness of experience is there. And so we can see the dynamic of manifestation and expression and unity in the moment. Now, the present moment. There is no other time. It's always now. So everything is contained right now. But yet, Ra does give a sort of description as to this. And so why does the crux ansata represents this? Well, to me, the Ankh, or crux ansata, same thing, is a depiction of the one in manifestation. I gave that description or my interpretation, my definition, my way of seeing it, the poetry of the crux ansata in the last session. So if you look at the ending of the last session, the last question actually of the session 93, you'll find my interpretation of it. So Ra says, the cross formed by the living limbs of the image signifies that which is the nature of the mind-body-spirit complexes in manifestation within your illusion. Sacrifice is a word that they use in that last session. And that sacrifice is what we do by being. Being is a sacrifice in and of itself. That's why they say there is no experience. There is no experience which is not purchased by effort of some kind. That's the sacrifice. Again, sacrifice sounds very harsh, right? It's a very loaded word. But the sacrifice, is can be seen as, I'm going to dedicate the next hour to meditation. That's a sacrifice. You're sacrificing all the other possibilities for that. Simple as it is. All possibilities are being always sacrificed for what you're doing at the moment. If you see this, you see everything unfold in front of you. So if I decide to play a video game, read a book, watch a show with my family, go for a walk, shower, eat, anything is excluding everything else for the experience of what's happening. I want to leave it as simple as possible so as to not bring so many complexities. I think the raw material is already complex as it is, but just for you to see what that means. Then you can come with your mind and your own inclinations and say, sure, this sacrifice that I'm doing right now, it's not worth it. Or this sacrifice is totally worth it. Then you can start refining your decisions and your choices in life. So to give you an example, if I play video games, which I used to, and I used to dedicate a lot of time to that, I was sacrificing so many other things that weren't, in my field, right, of view. And so it's fine. But then there are other things came into my field of life, and I said I would be sacrificing too much if I just kept playing video games. I would be sacrificing too much, which is this, which I adore and I love doing, and I would feel imbalanced. I wouldn't feel whole. You see, so some things fall away in your life if you become available of the possibilities and what you're sacrificing. And yet, for example, when I do the things that I do right now, I do see the sacrifices that I'm doing, by maybe going out, having fun, doing things. All those are worthy sacrifices for me. So aligning yourself with the true sacrifices, that's what gives you purpose, or gives you direction, refines your direction rather. I won't even mention Jesus, who is known for the sacrifice for all of our sins, right? That makes a lot of sense. What are our sins? That we do not see reality. Sin is simply missing the mark. You're not looking at reality clearly. Like I said at the beginning of this video, and I'll keep repeating it, you have no mental clarity. If you're sinning, you have no mental clarity. Simple as that. So Jesus was simply, it's not like he wiped all our sins, but he did show in the flesh what it is to be fully committed to clarity of mind, sacrificing even your own self for the message, which is really what I interpret Jesus to be, a messenger of this truth. So again, no act of service to self, right? Even service to self or others will bear some price for the entity manifesting, and it's commensurate with its purity. Commensurate means it's parallel, it's one-to-one, right? So depending on the purity of that which is manifesting and those things that are sacrificed, then that effort will be commensurate, right? All things in manifestation may be seen in one way or another to be offering themselves in order that transformations may take place upon that level appropriate to the action. So let me bring it to even absurd scales, but so you can see the holographic nature of this effort and sacrifice of being. If you look at a carbon atom, as it binds into a specific molecule, right? Let's talk about two hydrocarbons and carbohydrates. Sounds the same, right? They do two different things. So they are offering themselves into configuration in molecules to produce gasoline or petrol or any of those derivatives. I think I'm saying hydrocarbons. Let me make sure, because I know in Spanish. Yes, hidrocarburo, hydrocarbon. Yes, okay. So this is a chemical compound for combustion. You see, but it's not the type of combustion that we humans are ingesting. We ingest carbohydrates. different type of combustion, but appropriate for the human body. Whereas you cannot put bread on your car's tank. You see, the engine would not like that, and your engine would not like gasoline. So please don't do that. So you see what I mean? There is a sacrifice. It's that simple. The carbon atom says, it doesn't say, it simply is. It just gets in the proximity of the other atoms and says, yeah, hydrocarbons, yay, that's it, that's me, that's my identity for now. But I'm always a carbon atom. Whereas, the other carbon atom, same thing, but it surrounds itself in an environment with other hydrogens and oxygens, right? It's a party of atoms, and they're just simply configured in a way that looks like carbohydrates. I'm going to feed humans. The other one's going to feed gas tanks or heat. For example, we get most of our heat still from hydrocarbons. So yeah, that's the sacrifice. Now, you think it would be foolish, to extrapolate this to human beings, but it isn't. The same principle. I'm using carbons as elementary particles, but what are carbons? They are energy moving in a specific way. So you can say, well, carbons are energy sacrificed in a specific pattern, whereas hydrogen is the same energy but sacrificed in a specific pattern too. You keep following this and you'll just find that at the end is just intelligent energy moving in different ways. But there is always a sacrifice. That is the direction in which we move. Reality is moving, and it wants to move in a certain direction. That direction is towards evolution. So all of these movements have a desire, and that desire is, like I said, clarity of mind, because that's what consciousness wants. It's no longer physical movement that it wants. It reaches a certain point in the evolution of itself as human beings, and it finds the open-heartedness of itself and says, I want to move in that direction. So there are some sacrifices there, and that is of awareness. Awareness needs to sacrifice beliefs for knowledge. It's a worthy sacrifice. That's what Jesus represented to the Gnostics, believe it or not. That's the type of sacrifice. Sacrifice those things that are beliefs into gnosis, into knowledge. All things in manifestation may be seen in one way or another to be offering themselves in order that transformations may take place upon the level appropriate to the action. And upon the level appropriate of that movement, I would say.